Hi everyone, here are the solutions to weekly review number 11. These were all systems of equations problems. The first equation says to solve the system using elimination. So our system is already set up so that when we add our equations together, the y's will eliminate. Right? So these will eliminate, and when we add our equations together, we end up with, let me put this line here. Okay, we end up with, I'll write it over here, 6x is equal to, if I add those together, 28 and 14, I end up with 42. And when I divide both sides by 6, I end up with x is 7. And I can double check, I can go ahead and plug that back in to solve for y. I'll solve in the second equation just because y is positive there. So I end up with 21 plus y is equal to 14. If I subtract 21 from both sides, I get y is negative 7. So that would be the answer there. In problem number 2, it says solve the system of equations using substitution. So we're taking what y is equal to and we're plugging that in for y in the second equation. So my second equation is now 2x plus x plus 6, because that's what y is equal to negative 3. Combine your like terms. Subtract the 6 from both sides. We end up with 3x is negative 9. Divide both sides by 3, and we end up with x is negative 3. And we can go ahead and plug that in to that first equation to find the value of y, which is 3. So the answer is negative 3 for that one. Okay, in problem number 3, it says solve it using substitution. And there is no, this is not multiple choice. We're going to have to figure this one completely out without the aid of possible solutions that are out there. Okay, so I'm taking what y is equal to and I'm plugging that in for y in the first equation. So I still have the 3x in the first equation. I still have the 2 in the first equation. But now instead of y, I now have what y is equal to, which is negative 3x plus 11 is equal to 7. From here, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I end up with 3x, and then 2 times negative 3x is minus 6x plus 22 is equal to 7. I have negative 3x plus 22 is equal to 7, so I subtract 22 from both sides. I end up with negative 3x is equal to negative 15, and so x is equal to negative 5. Okay, now that I have x equals negative 5, I can go back to that second equation and solve for y. So I have negative 3 times negative 5 plus 11, and that would give me, this would be positive 5. This would then be positive 5. And negative divided by negative is a positive. There we go. So we end up with y is equal to negative 15 plus 11, which means that y comes out to be negative 4. So your answer here is 5, negative 4. That would be your answer. In problem number 4, it says we can solve it using elimination, right? But I can't eliminate with the way the problem is right now because I don't have the same variable in both equations. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply my top equation by negative 3. And so that gives me negative 3x, negative 6y. So negative 3x minus 6y is equal to positive 18. And my bottom equation is 3x plus 8y is equal to negative 20. So when I add my equations together, my x's are going to eliminate, and I'm left with 2y is equal to negative 2, which means that y comes out to be negative 1. So now that I have y, I can go back to either of my original equations. So I'm going to go back to that first equation, and I'm going to substitute negative 1 in for y in order to solve for x. X minus 2 is equal to negative 6. Add 2 to both sides, and I end up with x is negative 4. So my answer here is negative 4, negative 1, and that is my ordered pair. Remember that you can check. Because I solved in the first equation, I'm going to go ahead and check in that second equation, and you should always check. So if I go ahead and plug negative 4 in for x and negative 1 in for y, I end up with negative 12 minus 8 gives me negative 20, and that does in fact check. Okay, and in the last problem it says, by what number should you multiply the first equation to solve using elimination? So I want to make sure that when I solve, when I set it up for elimination, that the coefficient in front of one of my variables is positive in one equation and negative in the other. This is asking me by what number should I multiply the first equation to solve for elimination. I would have to multiply both equations by something to eliminate the y's. However, if I multiply the top equation by negative 3, that would turn that number in front of x into positive 9. And since the in the bottom equation, the number in front of x is negative 9, that's perfect because then those would eliminate. So the answer there is negative 3. Hopefully that helped. Please make sure that you go ahead and do the retake. If you have any questions, please come to office hours and see me before you do the retake. Otherwise, have a great day. I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.